So for a lot of years, I was afraid, essentially a coward when it came to sharing my faith at work. And I feel I need to talk about the seriousness of this. A few years back, we had a fire at work. Some electrical equipment in a utility room caught on fire, and the ventilation system brought the smell of smoke into my office first. You know what I did? I told people. There was a fire, and I helped them escape. There was never any immediate danger. I don't think anyone even saw flames, but we did need to evacuate the building. And I learned something from this. You see, if you're born again, you know that the lake of fire, it's real, and you know how to avoid spending forever burning in the lake of fire. For a long time at work, I was afraid of telling people about Jesus and how he offers to rescue us from that fate. Strangely enough, I've known about this never-ending lake of fire a lot longer than I knew about the fire in the utility room. But it's taken me a lot longer to begin warning people at work about the looming never-ending fire. Oddly enough, the threat of an EEO complaint or other professional consequences deterred me from telling people there's a never-ending fire coming from which there is no escape. When you choose not to share the gospel with people you work with, you're choosing to avoid not the guarantee, but only the risk of professional consequences in favor of allowing the people you work with to be burned alive forever. How would you like to work with or work for someone who was willing to toss you into a burning lake of fire where you would be burned forever just to avoid a controversial topic, to avoid jeopardizing a healthy workplace environment? Why would you choose to be that person? Why be the person who is able to walk by a colleague who is literally on fire and not stop to help them because you'll be late for a meeting? Maybe they're not on fire this minute, but our lives can end any minute. Why risk their eternity? Would you be okay with them jeopardizing something that important to you? I liken believers who don't warn the non-believers they work with to being the only one who knows there's a real serious fire in the building you work with and choosing not to tell the people you work with because they're being productive and fervently working towards your organization's goals from which you stand to benefit. You want to be a good boss, not a disruptive, divisive, offensive boss, so you just don't tell the people the fire's getting closer. Why mess with great productivity? They're making you money after all, making you look good, and you like your job, so you unwittingly decide the price of their souls is worth it to you. When they come to you for advice about their future, you pretend to give them good advice about what route to take or position to put in for to get closer to their goals, while knowingly ignoring their eternal future. Isn't that cruel? You want to score high on the workplace survey, especially the questions pertaining to you or your area of responsibility. I submit to you that the only survey that should matter to you, to us as believers, and the only survey that the people you work with will care anything about is the hypothetical survey taken 60,000 years from now, when the people you work with are pulled out of the lake of fire. The most important question being, did your boss, colleague, or whoever you are to them who knew about this place do everything he or she could have done to warn you about this? That's the survey that I want to do well on. Why do believers not share the gospel more in their workplace? I suppose it's because not doing so is easy to get away with. I mean, you can withhold the gospel from your colleagues or the people you report to or that report to you, and yes, you'll likely benefit professionally from avoiding that topic, or at least avoid unfavorable action of some kind. And you're almost beyond any doubt going to get away with it. By the time your teammates, friends, or whatever you want to call them find out you withheld the gospel, they will have no recourse against you. You'll have gotten away with using the people you work with to extract professional benefits for yourself. They will not only have no recourse against you, but they will not even have the opportunity to ask you, why not me? Or even throw a, why didn't you think I was worth it? glance your way as they fall into the lake of fire. In many ways, it's the perfect crime. The victim never learns they are being used at such cruel and hideous cost to themselves until justice is impossible. Congratulations, you get away with it. What were their souls compared to your salary? Why stay in such a horribly contemptuous mindset with respect to the employees you're convinced have yourself as a good boss? Can you imagine working for such a nefarious person? You don't have to shout at everybody you see at work, but not telling them is colder than cold and cruel. History has few individuals who have reached comparable depths of cruelty. At least you know you're getting away with letting all those people you spend so much time with, your team at work, burn forever. Success at work is saving the souls you work with. Stop falling for a fake standard in place of the one given to us that by that standard, the only one that should matter. By the reason God died on a cross and saved us and left us here. Witnessing to people is the only thing we can do for the Lord here that we can't do in the next life. That's why we're here. If it's hard for you to share salvation with people at work, just picture that person on fire. If the people you work with were worth crucifixion to Jesus, they should be worth 5 minutes of your time to you, even if it's a little bit awkward. Their eternity should be worth it. Your building's on fire, and the people you work with, they are worth warning if they're worth Jesus dying for. Another thing this topic brought to my attention was the unsurpassable grace of God. Many of us walk side-by-side believers every day at our jobs as they unknowingly walk straight into the lake of fire, only turning ourselves away at the last minute before they fall in, just to keep our jobs or extract such a small, minuscule benefit, which we might not get if we attempted to guide them away from eternal damnation, or to avoid the possibility of losing our jobs, a loss which, with an eternal perspective, is a triviality among trivialities. Is it not Paul who said the suffering and pain of this world is not worth comparing to what we get in heaven? In spite of continuing to put trivialities among trivialities ahead of souls, Jesus was crucified for us, and we are still loved and forgiven. It's easy to forget how hideously evil we can be to other human beings when this specific evil in question is done daily by many, if not most, born-again believers, myself included. It is by the grace of God that a person like me can be saved. In Luke 7, did Jesus not call John the Baptist greater than all in the Old Testament? That's Moses, Enoch, and Elijah. John was almost certainly homeless by modern standards and ate insects out of economic necessity. If ending up poor like John the Baptist out of obedience to God seems bad to us, maybe we need to conform our standard to God's standard. I know many believers today who, knowing what Jesus said about John the Baptist, would call John the Baptist a loser if they saw him on the street, or not good enough to court my daughter if he asked to court her. I don't mean to go off on a tangent about John the Baptist, but maybe, just maybe, our standards are wrong. If you got fired because you chose to follow Jesus instead of your employer, that is not a bad thing. It's not an honor that I want, getting fired that is, but it is nonetheless a great honor if you're fired because you chose to follow the Lord instead of your employer.